Torah Life Ministries come out of the world.
Now I'm going to come here today and teach about the misunderstood scriptures about food and diet, because that's where the deception is being taught. People are saying all these things. Look, I don't care how often you bless something that's not should be blessed, it's never going to make it good. You bless a Twinkie all you want, it's never going to make it healthy for you. You bless an unclean food, it's never going to make it clean. I'm going to get into this message here, but before I do, let me give you an example. And I understand because I was there. When somebody gets to learning the truth about Scripture, or anything, they get excited. Example, if you've been cured from a disease, you'll be the most zealous person in the world talking about that cure, even if people don't want to listen. I'm sad to say I've turned more people off about eating healthy than I care to mention, because they weren't ready to hear it. They didn't want to hear it. But since I got cured, I didn't want to stop telling them. You know, we have to be in prayer consistently, to pray for understanding and wisdom and strength. So this is the things we need to do. So we're going to look at this, and we're going to look at the people are deceived. We're going to look at some of the scriptures. There's 3 ways people are getting deceived today. And not only about diet. We could apply this about diet, but everything I talk about, I tried to apply about diet and health, and it turned out like about everything else. When I first came out here, I was teaching about food. But you could change that word food, and everything it said applied right to the scriptures and everything in life. Well, I found out a majority of the time that food is mentioned in the scriptures, it has nothing to do with food. They're metaphors for life, for higher things, for bigger things. But people want to make those excuses. Oh, it's not what comes into the body, it's what comes out. That's a heart thing. It's about the heart. It's not saying you can eat any food you want because it's going to come out of you. No, it's what comes out of the heart. That's what counts. And what you put in your body is going to determine what comes out of your heart. What you put in your mind is going to determine what comes out of your heart. So it does matter. But people want to turn things around. They want to switch it. And we're going to see the way people are deceived today. You know, and I teach a message about, you know, that's not the most popular message out there. If I wanted to teach a popular message, I'd be running around teaching about, you know, these prophecies about what's going to happen tomorrow and all these other things. And people like to hear that stuff, because it gives them hope without having to research or look at what's going on. I don't have to do anything else. The end's coming next week. I don't have to do anything else, you know, because this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Well, did you ever ask yourself, what if? What if it doesn't happen? Are you prepared? And the sad part of it all is, now that I have a child and I see her grow, and I see all these other children play with my child and everything else, the sad part is so many people are looking to the forward about the prophecies. They're forgetting the past. And if it doesn't happen now, what is going to happen to the children? Are we preparing them? Are we teaching them? It's not happening. You know, so we need to understand these things. So we're going to look at the deception of the enemy and how he's deceiving us. We could look at it as food from food standpoint, but there's a lot of other standpoints as well. Why is this deception taking place? Lack of knowledge of the scriptures, not lack of capability of thinking, because we're very smart for the things we have a passion for. If you've heard some of the things I heard people say, I'd be like, man, how could somebody know so much, but then know so little? You know, it's where our passion truly lies. But the real thing is desire to please our flesh. The fleshly desires of man go so far against the desires of our Creator. And when we're called to be one with Messiah, our desires should be of what His desires are. That is not happening today. People are fighting it. They're trying. They want it to happen. But the enemy's got a good hold on us. I don't say you, I say on us. Because he knows he's very clever. But there's one that's even more clever. And he's the one that we should be following. Here's your examples of some of the things that people, how they turn around the scriptures to fool us and trick us and everything else. I mean, most of you here, since you were listening to me, probably heard or know many of the deceptions out there. I was just reading a thing I posted to my Facebook the other day. How many of you are my Facebook friends? Well, you should all be, okay. I was just listening the other day on Google. They had something says, well, I should have wrote, I got to incorporate into these notes, scriptures or common phrases that people think come from the scriptures, but they don't. Yeah, it was amazing. And there are common things out there that people think are from the scriptures, but they're really not. But it's used and quoted so often that people think they are. And one of the popular one was, I think it was a football player. No, it was Mike Ditka, the football coach. And he retired, and he used what sounded like a scripture, what sounded like it came from the Bible, and it didn't. And the media picked up on it the next day, or somebody did, and they made a big thing about it. I don't remember the exact quote it was, but it certainly wasn't from the scriptures. But many of the people thought it was, because if you hear something enough, you think it is. Well, many times people hear, well, the Old Testament is done away with. That's the law. We don't have to live under the law. Oh, it's new now. We have grace, so we can do whatever we want. We don't have to dress any different. We don't have to eat any different. So we got grace. If you hear it enough, you start to believe it. And all these things being taught. Let me give you an example. I'm going to give a lot of scriptures about one of the common things that people try to bring up to me. And I don't argue with people about these things, because I learned a long time ago, it says, if you argue with a fool, you have two fools arguing. So I have more important things to do, but I'm going to read Colossians 2:16. Colossians 2:16. So don't let anyone condemn you for what you eat or drink, or for not celebrating certain holy days or new moon ceremonies or Sabbaths. Now the church today, the popular church, and I'm not saying all churches are bad, because I know some that are quite good, but the majority of the church out there today will make this sound like, oh, don't let anyone condemn you or say anything wrong what days you follow. You can go following Halloween and Christmas and Easter. Don't let anyone condemn you for that, because it's okay. That's what they go thinking. But that's not what the scriptures say. The scriptures have been twisted around. The true scripture says, that was Paul talking to the believers, saying not to let anyone condemn you for keeping the days that were appointed, the appointed times and the appointed days. When we start seeing the scriptures the way they were truly written, and not by what some man has twisted them around, we start seeing this deception. And that's why I call Christians followers of Constantine. So we got to see the truth and see what's happening there. If you really want to see and understand the true message of the scriptures, you have to understand what the Torah says. You must understand what the Torah says to get that clear understanding of the scriptures. Those 3D pictures years ago, you stick your face up to it and all of a sudden it would show in 3D? That's what the Torah is. That's what the Torah is. You have the whole world looking at this so-called New Testament, this new covenant. But it's just a flat picture. And since they're not seeing into it, they don't understand. So they're letting somebody tell them what it says. But they can't see the truth. But when you see the Torah, it's like sticking up your nose to one of those pictures. It just opens up. And you see it so clearly. Deuteronomy 12:32 says, see that you do all I command you to do. Do not add or take away from it. You see, the New Ages say, ask and you shall receive. No, the scriptures say an action must take place. Ask and do and you shall receive. An action must take place for you to receive the blessings. The action must take place for you to receive the blessings. And the scriptures clearly show us everything from our food, what we should be eating, what we shouldn't be eating. It even shows us how to identify it. It gives us a list of what we should be eating and not be eating. And it shows us in every aspect of life what we should be doing and what we should not be doing. You could take it this way and show you how many examples are in the scriptures of different circumstances and the results. You could take the book of the Torah, you could take the Gospels, and you could take Revelations. And every single thing that's going to happen, past, present, and future, can be found in those books alone to know exactly what the message and the job of Messiah is. And every other single book, including those books of the scriptures, from Genesis to Revelation and all the books in between, are used as examples, role models, and of circumstances of how to act and react in certain situations. The true stories that are all there are for our benefit, to show us what is going on over and over again. Remember, the more we see it, the more we believe it. The more we see it, the more we live it. It's not about reading the Bible once and saying you read it, which most people haven't even done. Read it over and over and over again, and then you will get it. But the deception has taken place. The excuses and the lies are out there. The excuses. Some people know this truth, they just don't want to change. They don't want to upset their friends or family. Others don't want to live uncomfortable and be looked at differently. So they know it, but they're not doing it. And then the lies. The ones that know this, but they're teaching that it's not true. For example, I can't see how a Bible scholar or a Bible teacher can read the scriptures, have a congregation, and still decide we're not going to take any part in the appointed feast of our Creator, or even attempt to, or even talk about them. But we have no problem talking about the holidays of man. The lies. So there's the deception. Now we got the excuses, and we have the lies, and it's taken place. 1 Timothy 4:1-3 says, and the Spirit expressly says that in the last times some of the faithful will turn their minds to following deceitful spirits and teachings of demons of liars, who have scared their own conscience in hypocrisy by forbidding to marry, keeping away from food which Yahweh created for the faithful and for those who know the truth to receive with thanksgiving. This scripture has been twisted around and turned around so much and so often, but we have to know the truth about these things, and we have to see what it's really saying. We have this being a prophecy of the future of what to come. This was something that was said by Timothy when the original covenant was all that was being taught, the Torah. That was the only thing being taught at that time. It specifically says in this scripture, deceitful spirits and the teaching of demons. That is the deception of the enemy. Then it goes on to say the teachings of liars. The teachings of liars. That is all those people out there that know the truth and they're not doing it. Well, James 4:17 says to know the truth and not do it, to him it is sin. But does it not say in the scriptures, woe to those who beat my children?
Ministries come out of the world. Messiah people seek the truth.